My name's Dan Radden. We are going to do a pre-trip today. Usually takes about 20 minutes. We're going to run through it in about 10. Always have your tire gauge and always have a flashlight. What we're going to do here is check out the inside of the motor. Check your oil, check your fuel gauge, your fuel filter, check for any leaks along the engine, check your radiator, check the fluid. We'll get in, check your shaft, check your shaft, check your brakes, check your brake cans, check your washer fluid. Look for any visible loose hoses or wires. Move around to the front. The other side, you will have to check the antifreeze level, check and see if there's any oil running out of your turbo or any of the exhaust. Check your brake cans, your shocks, your brakes for springs. Check for any leaks underneath. When you get done with that, you can shut your hood. Check your headlights and your flashers. Make sure there's no cracks in those. Make sure there's no visible damage up front. Right here, we're going to start checking. Make sure your lug nuts are tight. Look for any cracks on your rims. That's a big one. Continue walking down. Check for doors, windows. That's the other thing up front I forgot to say. Check for cracks in your windows. Check up here. Always make sure your reefer's running. You can do a pre-trip on it. Here, same thing. Lug nuts, cracked rims. Check your tire pressure. Always check your tire pressure. Look for dents on the side of the trailer, any rips or anything else. Always come underneath. Always come underneath and check and make sure your fifth wheel is locked in correctly. Do never move your truck if you don't put a flashlight on that. Check and make sure your tail lights are working and you have mud flaps. Check your skirts by thumping on them, pulling on them. Come down. You always want to check your rear rims. Make sure your lug nuts are tight. Look for any cracks. Look under. Make sure your pins are set and your S and your C brackets are both on the rails. Big problem with that. Check the air pressure if they don't have the autofill system in it, and don't ever rely on the idiot light on the front of the trailer for autofill. When you start your truck, you'll be able to listen for leaks, but always examine your tires for any irregular wear. Come back here, check your mud flaps, check your lights. When you get to the back, check your lights, check all of your hinges. Make sure your door's closed. Check all of your hinges. Make sure your license plate light is working and the license plate bracket is on correctly. Check your ICC bar. Make sure it isn't sticking out or bent in any way. And your tape. You can only have white tape on the top corners. You have multicolored tape on the bottom. We're going to walk to the other side. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to look for dents. We're going to check tires for irregular wear. We're going to look at lug nuts. We actually have a flat tire.
How can you tell?
See how low that is? One of these tires is low, like this one right here. We're going to look underneath, make sure the pins are in and the C brackets are on the rail. We're going to check lug nuts. We're going to check there. We're going to check your skirts again. You're going to look for any visible damage on the side of the trailer. You're going to come up and you're going to do the same thing on your rear, on your drive tires, check the lug nuts, check for rims, and move forward to the front tire and do the same. Now we're going to go underneath the trailer. This is very important. This is where you're going to check your brake pads, you're going to check your wheel seals, you're going to check your brake cans and make sure your rods, push rods aren't bent. You're going to check your load leveler bar. You're going to check for all the springs in your brakes. Okay, this is where you need your flashlight mostly. You want to get down, look for your inner wheel seal, check your brake pads and make sure they're thick. Check the pins in the push rod on the brake cans. Also listen for any kind of air leak whatsoever. Sit up, check the springs in the back. Do a visual on any air hoses or airbags and make sure they're not leaking. Do the same on all 4 tires. Slide up from the front or the back. It doesn't matter, but you need to check all that stuff. It's very important. We're going to check in between your cab and your trailer now. We want to make sure all your air lines are hooked up correctly. And you want to see that all the doors on the reefer are closed. Also, check your registration and your inspection paperwork, which is here. Hoses here, match blue, red, and green. Okay, when you're in the cab of the truck, you want to fire it up and bring up your air pressure all the way until you hear that it's full. Then you're going to want to test your brake pressure and go down until your indicator lights say you have low air. You want to make sure all of your gauges are working correctly. You also want to make sure your mirrors are adjusted right. You have no cracks in your windshield. You want to make sure that everything you need to get a hold of is within hand's reach, or you need to adjust your seats. Me, I always keep my bills in the door. That way it's easily to find if you ever have any kind of an accident.